Egan Bernal launches a 60-kilometer attack in the rain and the old Movistar rears its ugly head, a reminder of the GC standings going into stage 17 of the Vuelta. If we forget about Eiking and Martin, Roglič is about 35 seconds ahead of Enric Mas, he's 90 seconds ahead of Miguel Ángel López, 2 minutes ahead of Jack Haig, and nearly 3 minutes ahead of Egan Bernal, who's in 7th before this stage 17, which has 3 main climbs. The middle tour about 7Ks at 9%, and the last climb is 12.5Ks at 7%. But if you've liked these breakdowns during the Vuelta, to help out the channel, if you could subscribe down below and like the video, it makes a massive difference to the channel. Fight for the breakaway started on the 5K short percent climb with 150Ks to go. Caruso nailing Romain Bardet on the line in the fight for the KOM jersey, but he's still a fair bit behind Romain Bardet, who I expect to be in the breakaway tomorrow. And the break wasn't cooperating too well. You see the Lotto Soudal flicking imaginary riders. Jay Vine got in the break, which was good to see after his injuries the other day. And it was Dylan van Baarle upping the pace. I thought he was there to be a satellite rider for one of the Ineos riders later. He drove it really hard, and then David de la Cruz from the GC group behind tries to bridge, trying to do a Ben O'Connor or what Jack Haig did in this Vuelta to gain time back on GC. They catch up to Dylan van Baarle. Trentin goes past him like a rocket, and Sivakov is hard pacing on this first long climb before Mikel Landa. I mean, I don't know what the purpose of this was. He DNF'd after this stage. He tried to bridge to the breakaway. You'll notice I showed you De La Cruz trying to bridge when the gap wasn't so big. Landa tried this bridge when it was nearly at the end of the first long climb. He seems to almost go over his limit as he catches them right at the crest and gets dropped later, and as I said, DNF. So probably would have been better for him to help his team. Not really sure what his plan was there. And as you can see, the break wasn't really cooperating on the descent. Eiking got dropped out of the GC group, and then Sivakov's not the best descender, so he catches back up on the descent, and Lugac on FDJ went clear in the valley. So a solo rider, not a noted climber, 90 seconds or a minute 45 on a GC group that with Jumbo-Visma looked pretty interested in today's stage and keeping that gap close, now down to 38 seconds before the second of those long climbs. And it's Tom Pidcock, you can see there, pacing with Sivakov behind him, presumably trying to set something up for Egan Bernal, who prefers the cool and wet conditions. Eiking gets dropped once again, and Egan Bernal seated sneak attack past Sivakov here, Froome style, marked by Roglič blue shoes. Sepp Kuss also on the wheel. You see him with the cocked arm here in the photo. He's on the radio. Kuss, I think, could have followed this. Lets Roglič wheel go, and when it cuts back, you see only now Miguel Ángel López trying to react to the Egan Bernal Roglič move with the guy leading GC and the guy at podium threat going up the road. And so Bernal extends this gap with no Movistar riders pacing. They've got no domestiques. Baller's crashed out. Verona's not here. Miguel Ángel López will not sacrifice for Enric Mas. And now we're thinking, what's Roglic's plan here? Is he going to follow Bernal going full on this descent? Well, he didn't. He actually, if you go and watch the full tape, Roglič laid off Bernal a fair bit. He wasn't keeping really tight to Bernal's back wheel because this was sketchy. Eiking crashes. I think he touched the brakes when he saw Vlasov crashed in front of him in this corner, who actually finished this stage. And then Roglič, once it gets onto the false flat downhill, starts to absolutely motor in this valley. He's rolling turns with Egan Bernal. The gap goes up to 2:16 between them and the chasing group behind, with Movistar not helping at all, despite Bernal moving up to second on virtual GC. At one point in this valley, they let Poles, Caruso, Rochas, and Zvihov do the work. And I guess their theory was, and you can see it in the power data here, here's Jack Haig's power data for the valley, 243 watts. It's like 3.5 watts per kilo, whereas Bernal is going absolutely full bore, and he's just done like 6.4 watts per kilo for 22 minutes on the climb, and now he's got to do another climb, whilst Movistar and Haig have been able to recover a little bit behind, with Poles and Mader pacing this climb for Jack Haig's fourth on GC. Guillaume Martin gets dropped. He and Eiking are out of the GC picture, and we start to see Bernal bob and sway, miss a few turns, and Roglič straight up drops him off the wheel with 7.6Ks to go on Covadonga, and Bernal, all the time he's gained with 139 advantage on López. Mas is going to eke away bit by bit from this point, and Roglic's performance here, look up the power data. Look it up, Amateur Pirelli on Twitter. It's a crazy level performance from Roglič, up there with what Pogačar did on stage 8 of the Tour de France. No wonder Bernal couldn't hold his wheel, doing like 6.3, 6.4 watts per kilo for 20 minutes on that second to last climb. Hard pacing that valley when he didn't even have to because he's ahead on GC, and then doing 26.30 on Covadonga afterwards. Ludicrous performance. An outstanding performance from Maida as well, pacing for Jack Haig. He did an outstanding job, the young Swiss rider, before Miguel Ángel López suddenly found his legs to attack. No one knows why, because they hadn't caught Bernal yet. Mas said afterwards he wasn't feeling too good, and López is ahead of Haig on the GC group, so the only person I can think he's really attacking at this point is his teammate Enric Mas. He gets brought back. Egan Bernal's only 40 seconds ahead before Enric Mas decides to have a dig, but he has his Catalunya pain face expression on. You can't really tell whether he's attacking or changed pace, and his head is on a swivel. Adam Yates brings him back, and it's Maida pacing Haig steady. Brings them back to the Movistar guys. Then they're going to catch up to Egan Bernal after all that work, with Roglič clear with 1k to go and a 1:35 buffer. Bernal gets caught under the Flamme Rouge just as it starts to get into the descent section. But you have to respect him laying it on the line in contrast to some other teams' defensive tactics today. Kuss attacking over the top. GC Kuss is alive and well, and Kuss has actually had to hold back probably for the better sometimes in this Vuelta for tactical reasons for Roglič up the road when he has had good legs and been able to close things. Bernal catches back on, but this is, I think, Roglic's most iconic victory ever. He said no risk, no glory when he attacked 12 minutes behind the break the other day and crashed, which didn't really make sense to me, and I've said my piece on that. This truly was a risk something, particularly on the descent, and he might have cracked if he paced too hard on the valley. Risk something for glory here, finishing 90 seconds ahead of the GC group, screaming as he crossed the line, taking this stage win, and barring crashes or mechanicals, putting this Vuelta absolutely to bed, because Enric Mas, as I said, was only 35 seconds behind him before today's stage. But behind him in this fast finish into Covadonga, you can see he's descending right now, and Sepp sees him, smiles as he does the best domestique job possible, taking 6 bonus seconds away from another GC contender, López taking the 4 seconds. Incredible job from Kuss today. He might actually get freedom on the mountaintop finish tomorrow. Movistar firmly fighting for second and third, didn't contribute at all to chase Bernal and Roglič back, and despite some scary moments for Haig, he escapes largely unscathed and moves up to 4th on GC, and you gotta feel for Egan Bernal. That much of an investment, turning the race on its head, going not just for the podium, but for the win with that attack from 60k's out, and to get no reward is a real shame. But here's the final stage results. Roglič winning 1:35 ahead of Kuss, López, Yates, Haig, Mas, Bernal, Gino, Maida, outstanding performance, and Meintjes and Champoussin. GC, Roglič is now into that red jersey he feared so much for 2.5 weeks, 2:22 ahead of Enric Mas. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you agree this is Roglic's most iconic victory so far in his career? And it's a bit different as well, going from so far when he didn't have to and taking the stage win rather than a punch to the line. Crazy level performance, but I'll see you with the Stage 18 recap tomorrow. Ciao.